following is a presentation of the Retro Network.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the special bonus episode of the Retro Resurgence podcast. Happy 2026. We hope everyone out there had a fabulous and joyous holiday and New Year's season. I am one half of your nostalgia-loving team here at the Retro Resurgence. My name is Chad. Over on the other line, as usual, my Midwestern retro buddy and podcast partner, Ken. Ken, how are you, man?
Chad, doing good, man. We got a really great bonus episode lined up here that we're excited to get to. Yeah, doing really good. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. Just getting off the holiday season, the New Year's season, and ready to roll into 2026 better than ever, I hope.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we're not alone today, listeners. We've got a special treat for you. Straight from the Blue Ridge portion of the Appalachian Mountains, we are honored to have with us the co-founder of the Retro Network, Mickey. Mickey, thanks for joining us, and how you doing today, man?
I was doing really good until you mispronounced Appalachian.
Oh, I did? Did I say Appalachian?
You sure did.
Oh, my goodness. I'm a Carolina boy. Maybe, those mountains just stretch right into, like, the Greenville area, but, yeah, that's probably my bad on that.
It's okay. We'll give you a pass this time.
Thanks, man.
Bless your heart.
Well, Mick, man, we're, like I said, honored to have you here on the show. First time for you to be with us. Listeners, we've been going at this for a year and some change, and Mickey is a big reason why we're doing what we're doing, right, Ken?
Yeah, well, like I always say, the Retro Network probably was one of my first retro podcasts that I had come across probably going on 6 or 7 years ago now. And yeah, like I said, this is, an honor to have Mickey on. We've heard him on podcasts for years now, and we finally got him on our show here. And yeah, we're glad to have him here.
Well, guys, it's my honor to be here with you all. Jason and I, we started the Retro Network podcast in 2019. So yeah, it's been going on 7 years now, but it's great to hear you and Chad kind of carrying that torch on since we stopped years ago. And your show is very similar. And I listen every episode, and I'm always proud of you guys and what you're doing.
Thank you, Mickey. And yeah, you and Jason's TRN Time Machine was a direct inspiration for us. Me and Ken have both referenced that particular podcast. And just last night, just to get myself kind of refreshed on all things Mickey, I went back and listened to him and Jason talk about old department stores over on the TRN Time Machine. It was August of 2019, so it would have been probably your fourth or fifth show. And yeah, man, y'all were a good team, and we all miss them. I'm sure you more than anybody in most cases. So yeah, man, we're honored to have you. Mickey runs his own personal blog called The Retro Ramblings, where you can find him over at his website, as well as over on Substack, where you can find him writing for a newsletter entitled This Nostalgic Life with his buddy Eric Vardaman, and as well as, from what I see, another newsletter of his currently titled The Cornbread Chronicles. Is that right, Mick?
Yeah. So it's got some retro and nostalgia to it, but it kind of localized for a local audience here in the South, in the Appalachians. Everything I've always written has been centered on like national pop culture, and I'm going to continue doing that. The Retro Network will do that. Retro Ramblings will do that. But the Cornbread Chronicles is a little local slice of life with a whole lot of nostalgia and retro goodness mixed in with it.
Yeah, from the article that you put out this morning, giving props to the green bean casserole. man, you can definitely the regional flair is strong with that particular newsletter. And yeah, man, your retro ramblings, your what you do with Eric over there at this nostalgic life. Ken and I are big fans. So um,
Yeah.
we've been following Mickey for years on his various writing and blogging ventures. Now, Mickey, you're known around the retro community as the Retro Rambler, which is probably the most fitting name, think very suited for you. But in listening to all the content that you've produced out there over the past many years, I had a few nicknames that I'd like to try out and see if they stick. Are you good if we throw out a few of those?
Sure, at least until I hear them, I am.
All right, now I must admit, many of these nicknames are directly related to Mickey's well-known food rants that he's been known to give over the years. But as he would say, food is a subject he could talk about probably ad nauseum. So here goes. The Pauper of Pizza Hut.
I like that.
Okay. Folks, if you want to hear anything that he's very nostalgic about, just go to Retro Ramblings and search for Pizza Hut, and you'll find everything you need to know, including old pictures. But Mickey and Pizza Hut have become quite synonymous, isn't that right, Ken?
Oh yeah, man. Talking about the nostalgic feel of the inside of the Pizza Hut, the red cups, the lighting at video games. Yeah, man. I wish those days would come back as well.
You know, I just want to interject. When I wrote that article, I sat down one morning. I was working second shift. I sat down about 10 a.m. and just banged it out off the top of my head in about 2 hours. I took 20 minutes to go back and edit it, posted it.
Nice.
About 4 days later, it started going viral. Somebody started sharing it on Reddit. And for about 10 days, it was pulling 60,000 views a day.
Wow.
Jeez.
So all of a sudden, all of that Pizza Hut nostalgia that I just wrote out very quickly, I was getting so many emails and messages of people that agreed with it. And it's still one of the happiest days of adulthood, right? Or one of the happiest weeks to know that I wasn't just crazy, that so many people felt the exact same way.
That's definitely your thing now, whether that's what you set out to be or not. It's definitely known for in our little community.
I would like to think that it going viral in some way, someone at Pizza Hut read that and may have helped inspire the classic retro Pizza Huts they've been trying to do.
Yeah, we definitely need more of those. So yeah, who knows? You never know when you put your stuff out there. So I got a couple more here. Again, I apologize. They're very food related. How about the Czar of the Wendy's Super Bar?
I like that too.
That's a good one.
Now this one, not my favorite. I couldn't come up with a catchy one. I just called him Mr. Pumpkin Delight because I know he's very nostalgic about the Little Debbie's. I just listened to your department store episode with you and Jason. How about the Herald of Hills? Ken, did you have a Hills? Because
No,
Hills did
man.
not make it, I don't think, past Virginia.
I'm up in the north here, man. I don't even, we never had a Hills.
There is a lot of people who are nostalgic for Hills. Their slogan of Hills is where the toys are was not hyperbole. That was the God's honest truth. They spoke it, they lived it. And as you hear this, once it goes live, you can go to Retro Ramblings. There is a Pizza Hut style rambling about Hills coming that will be out by the time this goes live.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
Hell, Chad,
yeah.
we just got Ollie's for the first time up here about 5 months ago.
Wow. We got ours probably 5 years ago. I don't
Yeah.
know if they've been around a lot longer than that, but I think comic books are pretty well sold there, or at least you can find some good deals on books.
Yeah.
Mick, you got a Ollie's? I think you do.
We do. And on the comic book subject, it's a great place to find, I'm going to say fairly recent trade paperback stuff in the last 10 years. But they also put out the polybag collection, 4, 6, 8 books, whatever.
Yep.
And they specifically put out some like 90s pack. So while the comics may not be worth reading much anymore, they are still full of all those great ads from products for the 90s. So I pick one up every few months when I'm in there. $6 for 4 old issues just to see the ad.
Yeah, man. One more food related one. I promise it'll be over. It's the mayor of the Mexican pizza. Listen, I don't want to paint you as just a junk food guy, but you're definitely well known for your writings on junk food. But I know Mexican pizza has come back, and maybe not the way it used to be, but comes and goes. It seems like the last few years.
Oh yeah, but I take advantage now that they are back. It's like a monthly stop just to get a Mexican pizza, just in case they ever go away again.
And then my last few here for nicknames for Mick, the Reaper of Retro. Obviously, you are very big into the Halloween season. You can just go back to last month's articles over at TRN and see Mick's writings. The Virginia Viper, which sounds like it could be more of a wrestler name maybe than a
Yeah, there you
nickname.
go.
And then finally, and I'm going to try to say this right, the Ace of Appalachia. Those were just some nicknames that I thought of you, Mick, but Retro Rambler is probably the one that fits you the best.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Was that self-made name, or did that just somebody bestow that upon you?
Well, actually, I accidentally stole it from our good buddy Adam from the Wizards podcast, the
Oh,
comics. I had read some of his stuff on maybe Retro Junk from years and years and years ago, and he titled his little columns or articles "Retro Rambling." And then I had totally forgotten it, spaced on it, whatever, when I set out to start my own and took that name by accident. But he bequeathed it after that. So
Well, I just thought I'd have a little fun with you, Mick, with the nicknames. But we'll reveal a little bit later what today's podcast is in a moment. But first, as we like to do here on the podcast, we like for our first time guest on the show to tell us a little bit about them. So, Ken, what do you got for Mickey?
yeah. We like to give these 4 questions to our guests. We like to call it the Retro Resurgence resume. So, Mickey, are you ready?
absolutely.
All right. Well, question one, not really a question, but name one real life retro event that makes you happy. So something that you'd always look back on and, gives you a smile.
So you sent me these questions well in advance, and I had a lot of time to think about them. And I actually still have the paper in front of me. I've probably marked out a dozen answers to this question before I settled on one. And it might come a little out of left field, but it's the yearly Twilight Zone marathon on Sci-Fi for New Year's.
Wow. Okay.
And it's because in the world of streaming, you don't get a lot of those connections you had back through the years. So that marathon reminds me of the days of Nick at Night.
Mhm.
It reminds me of just the classic shows. I grew up watching holiday marathons on PBS and USA in the late 80s, early 90s, Planet of the Apes marathons, things like that. So every time I see those listings for the Twilight Zone marathon, it just makes me happy, right? To know that there's still somebody out there in the world putting that stuff out in the old school fashion that we grew up viewing it in.
Right. Man, I didn't even know that was a thing. Chad, do you know about this?
I've caught a few back in the day. It was the theme music alone was enough to creep me out. But yeah, I've definitely know that Mick was a big fan of the Twilight Zone. So yeah, man, that was a good pick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every year on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, they run a marathon, just nonstop of old episodes. And they'll release it a month ahead of time or 2 weeks ahead of time, what the selection of episodes are each year. But
Cool.
like I said, it just reminds me of tuning in on New Year's Day on PBS for Planet of the Apes for, all day
Yeah.
long. Yeah, Sci-Fi does it. And there is still a local channel in New York, I think, that does it. But Sci-Fi would be the one that you would have access to.
I got you. You mentioned obviously marathons in the streaming age is quite different. I mean, when you go to apps like Pluto or Tubi, you've got those very specific content channels, and obviously those in today's world would seem like a marathon of shows. You know, you've got the old shows. Sure, maybe there might be a Twilight Zone 24/7 channel. So yeah, marathons are not like what they used to be back in the day when it was something you kind of anticipated. But it's nice to know that somebody there is still seeing value in that.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that was a great pick. So we're going to go with the next question and flip the coin here. Name one real life retro event that makes you sad.
I think I'm gonna get the exact day right, but pardon me if I'm off by a day. But I'm gonna say March 26, 2001. Do you guys know what happened on that day?
Hmm. That's like
Uh,
four days after my birthday, but I'm trying to dig back. I'm not sure if
I
I.
think no, that's not. I was going to say Dale Earnhardt, but no, he died
No.
in February. What's that?
Yeah, that makes me very sad too. But that was the last episode of WCW Monday Nitro and effectively
Oh,
the end of WCW.
Dang, the simulcast.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, growing up, diehard NWA fan in the 80s, Rock and Roll Express, Dusty, Magnum, Manny Fernandez, Midnight Express, evolved into WCW. Here in the South, here in the Appalachians, that was our wrestling. And you grew up watching it, you feel like you know the people. And I don't want to try to overstate it, but you almost feel like they're distant relatives because you see them every week on television.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
WCW closing that night was a real end of an era, especially for somebody like me who started watching in 1984 and had watched religiously week in and week out up until that day. So that was a painful day.
Yeah, Chad, me and you have referenced that a few times here on the show, and it was really surreal to see Vince and Shane on TBS or TNT over there.
I tell you, if Vince wasn't a real person, he would be my answer to the last question on this. Who's your least favorite fictional character? But unfortunately, he's real.
Okay.
Yeah, that day kind of is when the territories of wrestling pretty much stop ceasing to exist. Now, of course, WWE is the predominant, and it's certainly global nowadays. And what Triple H and some of these other guys have made it, it's good for business. I'm good for the bottom line, but definitely doesn't have the old feel of the territory days. I'm sure Mick would agree.
Oh, absolutely. But thank God, though, they have all that money they have now that allows them to do the WWE network. So people like me can still go back and watch what I want to watch
Yeah.
of their product.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's also a great pick. So now we're going to go to question 3. Who or what is one of your favorite fictional retro characters?
Can I give an honorable mention?
Sure.
So my honorable mention would be Kramer from Seinfeld.
Okay.
Probably one of the best written characters in television history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, I scratched out a bunch of stuff for this, but I settled on Mario. Because when I think back, hell, Mario, even today, all the way back to when I was a kid, has been a part of our life between the Mario Brother arcade games, Donkey Kong, then Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart. Anytime Nintendo needed a game and to boost sales on it, they slap Mario's name on it. Dr. Mario comes out. They launched the Switch off of the back of Mario. Mario's been involved in so much of our life that it's hard not to recognize him as a key fictional character. So I'm going with Mario.
Nice. Chad, I believe that is our first repeat answer for this question.
Who said that before?
When we had a guest on from the Busy Signal podcast, Jim, he also answered that as his answer for this question. So that's 2 for Mario now.
You can't deny, man, Mario's
No,
impact on
but
us.
it's a great answer though. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And has Mario's never been a bad guy, has he? He's always the hero.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about perspective, right?
True.
I'm sure Donkey Kong thought he was a bad guy in the first
Right.
video game.
Yeah, true.
Well, that's a great answer. So now we're going to come to our final question of the Retro Resurgence resume for Mickey. Who or what is one of your least favorite fictional retro characters?
I wrote one name down and never scratched it out, and that's Scrappy Doo.
I've heard your disdain for him before on podcasts.
Totally needless character.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever too much of a fan of him either. What about you, Chad?
Yeah, you take him or leave him.
Yeah. He always wanted to fight somebody.
Well, that was some good answers, Mick. We appreciate you taking the Retro Resurgence resume. We'll post your answers and put it up on our socials for our listeners to get to know you a little better, but we appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't go anywhere. Retro Resurgence will be right back after this commercial break.
Discover the legendary Q106.5 in your car, on your smart speaker, on your phone. Browse to Q1065.com. 80s, 90s. This is a radio station with a vibe. Download our app or listen online. Search at Q1065 Radio on social media. The Q is your favorite radio station. Discover Q106.5 and hear the 80s and 90s hits on the radio station with personality. Q106.5.
All right, Chad. Well, those are some great answers from Mickey for the Retro Resurgence resume. But now it's time to get into the main topic of the show, which we are calling the Retro Resurgence Rumble Super Show. So, as you know, Jason and Mickey made the Retro Rumbles there on the TRN Time Machine famous. And we loved it so much that we kind of started doing a little bit of that on and off. We had an episode where we did about a 2 hour and 20-minute show on Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Sylvester Stallone. And we had a lot more in the topic tank, but we decided, hey, why don't we try to have Mickey on the show and just do a whole big show of Retro Rumbles? So that's what we're doing today.
Yes, and that's why Mickey's here. He's the originator in our eyes of the Rumble format. So, what better way? He'll serve as our referee, especially if we tie or have opposite
Right.
answers, right, Ken?
Yep. And it just so happens that when this episode drops, we'll be about a month away from the WWE Royal Rumble, so it's quite fitting.
Yes, it is. Mick, we gave you some topics there that we had in our tank, and you're gonna serve as the what you, in a wrestling term, the special guest referee. I hope
Right.
you got your stripes on so you can referee us both. But appreciate you taking up the task here.
Oh, absolutely. The Retro Rumble shows Jason and I used to do, they're right up there tied for first with my favorite topics when we would record.
I know you
Yeah.
guys. I know you guys had at least 10 dedicated episodes to Rumble, because when you guys started it, it just kind of seemed like it snowballed.
Well, we got a lot of good feedback on it. And in all honesty, it was easy to do. You guys remember we would throw it out in the TRN lounge for the ideas. We didn't even have to think of the Rumble. So it was all kind of just show up and talk about them for us. It was great.
And you've
Yeah,
got a
I was just going to say, I at least re-listen to those at maybe at least twice a year. I go back through them and they were so good.
And Mick, as a added bonus, I understand you've got a couple rumbles yourself that you want to throw out that me and Ken are not aware of.
Oh, yeah. You guys sent me the list. You've got a great list. But the randomness and the uniqueness of the Rumbles back when Jason and I were doing them, to me, is what made them fun, thinking on your feet, not being prepared. So I couldn't show up and not bring something to not stump you guys, but just something you're not prepared for.
Nice. Yeah, we look forward to it.
Yes, and one of the sort of caveats I would say for the Rumble is that you, and Mick, I remember you saying this in your Rumble shows, you can take a pair of Rumbles, but it's how you interpret it, right? So a lot of these topics, they're all subjective, of course. No, there may not be a right answer, but you can take particular stance on something if you can justify why you pick it. I know a couple that you're gonna throw out at us may come as a surprise, but if you can justify why you pick it, it may all make sense in the end. So.
All right. It could be as simple as it's just something you prefer. You could throw out a rumble of Marvel Comics versus DC Comics. Well, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I could answer that question of, I always, in the 90s anyway, when I was in comics, enjoyed DC stories better. One of you guys could look at that question and say, Marvel movies blow DC movies out of the water and pick Marvel. So it's really all open to interpretation.
Right.
Well, why don't we say we get started? How about that, Ken?
Yep, let's get it going.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right. Well, these fine gentlemen sent me their list of rumbles. I added my own rumbles, and much like we used to do in the old days, I have these all loaded into a randomizer, so they're never going to know what's coming. So you guys ready for the first one?
We are ready.
Let's
Let
do
me
it.
get it randomizing here. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg.
All right. Chad, I'll let you go ahead and give your answer first.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was looking forward to this Rumble. Um, I'm gonna pick Stone Cold, and now I was like Mickey. If growing up, I was very much more involved in the WCW. Being here in South Carolina, Nitro came to our area quite a bit, even when it came to places like Greenville and Columbia and Charlotte, places like that, Horseman Country. It was always fun to watch WCW, but I'm going to come at it from a stance of impact on the business. Goldberg had a hell of an impact, but it was very finite number of years, even though, of course, I could sit here and say that, but yet you look back and Goldberg just had a match a few months ago, his retirement match. So that would seemingly go against my argument. But I don't think there's any doubt that Stone Cold had financially and from a eyeball perspective what he did in the Attitude Era. So I'm going with Stone Cold on my pick.
Yeah. I was always up here in the north. I was more of a WWF watcher. So I'm going to go with Stone Cold as well. But now I won't say that I was never a fan of WCW because when those Monday Night Wars started up, when Hall and Nash went over to WCW, I kind of watched that a little more. And I do remember seeing up here in Milwaukee a dark match when Goldberg was first starting out. I went to a Nitro and I was like, God, who is this guy, man? He's huge, but I never heard of him. But going back to Stone Cold and WWF, if you can bring Mike Tyson in to go up, against one of your top stars, I'm gonna have to go with Stone Cold as well.
Now, Mick, before I ask what you would have picked, I got to mention that my favorite match of all time actually involves Goldberg. It was the 1998 Georgia Dome. You probably remember the match with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, where he took the title. I remember that like it was yesterday watching it. It was announced like 4 days prior to Monday Nitro on Thunder that it was going to happen. And of course, it was Goldberg's hometown. I could tell you the play-by-play of that match. I remember Carl Malone and DDP were involved. I remember just the atmosphere, and so that's my all-time favorite match. But still doesn't beat Stone Cold if you're telling me to pick out of those two.
Well, I certainly remember the Goldberg match, July 6, 1998 at the Georgia Dome. As far as my pick goes, the way I view it is kind of like you guys, but from an entertainment perspective. Steve Austin, Goldberg was highly entertaining. The streak was great, but the longevity of the entertainment that Stone Cold brought, when he really, really started taking off late '96, early '97, all the way through today, he still pops up drinking his beer and giving people stunners. He's still highly entertaining. So I would have to say Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Nice. Well, there we go. Stone Cold sweeps that category.
And also too, from a skit perspective, like Stone Cold had so many more memorable skits.
Oh gosh.
The only segment I remember Goldberg in was when he punched a car window and ended up cutting his arm, slicing his arm, and he was out for months because of that.
Well, I remember another Goldberg angle, if you will allow me to elaborate on it shortly. September 11th, 2000, the year before 9/11, Nitro was in Charlotte. I was there on my honeymoon, the wife and I. And there was a big schmoz at the end of the show, and Goldberg came out. I was sitting front row ringside behind the announcers. during the melee, someone from behind me threw a cup of beer. It hit Goldberg in the head. He turned around, saw me, thought it was me, and is leaning over the rope, pointing and cussing at me. And you can see that on television.
Oh my gosh.
And I had folks calling me after the fact when I got home later that week. But no, he was mistaken. It was not me who threw the beer that night. So
Wow.
that's my Goldberg story.
Can that be found on the network right now?
I'm sure it can.
I'm going to go search that out.
That's September 11th, 2000. And
Right.
it's the night that David Flair was going to marry Stacy Keibler. And Ric Flair had been off television for a long time at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And, I made a sign, said, "Welcome home, Nature Boy." And the wife didn't understand wrestling at the time. He's like, he's not there. I'm like, "Honey, it's in his hometown. He's been gone. They're doing a marriage angle with his son. There is no way he is not at the show." And so sure enough, Arn Anderson announced him. His music plays. I'm holding up my "Welcome Home, Nature Boy" sign, and I look up on the apron, and the camera has the red light on it looking straight at me, holding the "Welcome Home, Nature Boy." So during the wedding ceremony, when Arn Anderson announces Ric Flair, watch for me there for about 2 seconds. You'll see me holding up the sign at ringside too.
Nice.
Mick, did you say you were on your honeymoon?
Yep. The other side of the sign, we were featured in the intro of the show. It says, "We're on our honeymoon."
Man, that's pretty cool. Was
Yeah.
that hard to convince the new wife of going to Nitro, or
No, she was
long with it?
She had gotten used to it because the whole time we were dating, we didn't go out on Monday night. I would go to her house and we would, reluctantly watch wrestling with me.
Nice, man. As a keeper. Awesome. Well, what's the next Rumble you got for us, Mick?
Round 2 is another one really close to my heart. Street Fighter series versus the Mortal Kombat series.
Ooh, okay. Well, now I put this one as just the arcade versions. So I'll go first. My answer is going to be pretty short and sweet. I've always been a Street Fighter fan over a Mortal Kombat. I just kind of liked more the way the graphics were and how you had the different fighters from all the different countries. And when that Street Fighter 2, the new challengers came out where they introduced 4 new characters, I was all in on that. So my answer is Street Fighter.
Yeah, Ken, I'm going to agree. I didn't play much of the arcade consoles on either one, but if I did, I probably would have preferred Street Fighter. I certainly preferred Street Fighter when it came to the consoles. But I think the age I was at, I was still at the age where mom and dad were going to just check to make sure what I was playing was appropriate. I just remember the blood and guts of Mortal Kombat would have been no dice in my house. But I'm gonna go with Street Fighter. I like the characters, but both are equally as good in terms of impact on video games and stuff.
Plus, one of my other things why I like it so much is there is a character named after me, so that gives it an extra point as well.
And Ken was always my go-to character to use on Street Fighter.
Nice. All right.
It's a clean sweep for Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat never held a candle to it, in my opinion. All right, next up.
Right.
Van Halen versus Van Hagar.
All right, Mickey, you want to take this one first?
People don't want to hear what I got to say. I was a Gary Sharon guy.
Okay.
That's a joke. That's a joke for Eric. No, but I really don't have an opinion on Van Halen, Van Hagar. Their music's fine for both. I was never a big fan of either, but I listen to them when they come on. So you guys have at it.
All right, Chad.
I'll kick this one off. I'm probably want to be the least qualified to have an opinion on this, but I did a little research the last few days of the whole Van Halen split and Sammy Hagar, David Lee Roth, and I'm coming at it from where, and maybe this would be shared by others, but from how many hits each iteration of the band had. Now, I prefer the Van Halen, David Lee Roth because I saw they had about 4 or 5 hits that obviously I knew, whereas the Hagar version had a few that I don't know, including the big hit in the early 90s right now. But I'll take ones like Panama and Jump. So I'm going with Van Halen.
All right. Now me, if you're talking to the, 10, 11-year-old me in 84, 85, it's, for sure going to be Van Halen. I mean, who didn't want to be in that Hot for Teacher video? I was about the age those kids probably were in that video. So yeah, I was all in for that one. But then if, you're going into the 90s, a little bit older me with Sammy Hagar, I think he was probably a little bit of a better songwriter and musician. So if you ask me now, the 51-year-old me, I'm going to lean towards Van Hagar with Sammy Hagar. So that's my pick.
That's I think this question of all the ones will be the one that the listeners will probably be the most divided on. It always has been anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you were, like we said, growing up in the 80s, you're going to go with Van Halen. If you were more of a 90s kid, maybe you're going with the Van Hagar side. So yeah.
Oh, the next one is a fun one too. The 85 Bears, Chicago Bears, versus the 2000 Ravens. And I think more specifically the defenses of those two teams, because the two teams are still widely regarded as the two best defenses the NFL has ever seen.
Right. I'll kick this one off. So this is one of the Rumbles where I just did a tiny bit of research. So you had the 1985 Bears. They went 15-1 that year. They won the Super Bowl. The Ravens of 2000 also won the Super Bowl that year, and they were 12-4. I don't know. This one's pretty tough. I'm going to go with the 85 Chicago Bears solely on the fact that they had a Super Bowl shuffle and the Baltimore Ravens did not.
That might have been a missed opportunity for the Ravens to recapture some of the retro goodness of the 85 Bears. I'm going to go with the Bears as well. And now I did a little research as well, and the 2000 Ravens actually allowed less points that year. They allowed 165 points, whereas the Bears allowed 198. But I can remember, like if you were to tell me name players on each team, I could name more players on the 85 Bears. They were larger than life personalities, had every one of them seemed to have charisma, and it was obviously shown in the music video. So I'll agree with you on that one, Ken.
All right.
Wow. I've got to go 2000 Ravens.
All right.
Chad is correct. The 2000 Ravens allowed fewer points. They also allowed fewer yards, and they played 2 more games than the 85 Bears did. Don't forget the 85 Bears played in a 14-game season. 2000 Ravens had 2 more games they had to defend and still gave up less yards and less points than the 85 Bears.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor.
The records, I don't think, are fair to say the Bears had 1 loss, the Ravens had 4 losses. Because, while we're talking about defenses, wins and losses are also including the offenses. Bears with Jim McMahon versus the Ravens with Trent Dilfer. So the Ravens defense had a bigger handicap in their offensive partner than the 85 Bears did with Walter Payton and Jim McMahon. So I'm going 2000 Ravens.
Right. And just another argument you could make, one of their stats, the Baltimore Ravens recorded 4 shutouts that season. So that's pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, and you got to think, like Mick brought up a good point, and now they even have 1 extra game than the 2000 Ravens had, with the last, 2 years ago, they added a 16th game or 17th game.
17th,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so now the records are going to be even more skewed. But both of them were dominant in the year they were featured for sure.
Yeah.
Back to music. Michael Jackson versus Prince.
All right, I'll take this one first. It's for me, it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Michael Jackson, just solely on the fact that I think he was overall maybe a little bit of a better entertainer. Now, I will give the props to Prince. I think he was a better musician by far. Just a couple little nuggets here that I got. Prince's top-selling album, Purple Rain, achieved 13-time platinum, exceeding 21 million records. Thriller went 34 times platinum, sold over 70 million copies. So my pick is Michael Jackson.
Mine as well. I didn't have to think much, but I wanted to look at stats. Every stat that I looked at, of course, seemed like Michael Jackson beat Prince. But if you're not looking at stats, you're looking at style. I mean, certainly, like you said, I think Jackson was certainly the king of pop, the entertainer extraordinaire. But Prince had better songwriting. I think he's written songs for other artists that you didn't realize were Prince hits.
You're right.
And then he was also a much better guitar player as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but overall, I'm going Michael Jackson.
All right. What about you, Mick?
Kind of like Van Halen for me. It's not something that I really go out and seek either way, but of their catalog, I think I enjoy more of Prince's work than Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And up next is the first one that I interjected here on the Retro Rumble. And it's
All
a
right.
simple one. This one should be easy for both you guys. Fruity Pebbles versus Cocoa Pebbles.
Ooh. I'll field this one first. I'm gonna give the slight edge to Cocoa Pebbles just because you can get a somewhat of a glass of chocolate milk at the end of it. That's my only reasoning.
I'll echo that sentiment. If I was a kid picking back in the day, Cocoa Pebbles were always the one I would go for because of that. Pretty much the same reason.
All right.
How about you, Mick?
Fruity Pebbles is my ride or die. Yeah, I got to stick with the fruity. I like both, but I go with fruity way more than cocoa.
And yeah, like I said, I could go either one, but I just Cocoa Pebbles. I'm a little bit more of a chocolate guy, so that's why I picked it.
And it's funny, Chad done all that talking at the beginning of the show about me being a food guy, and here's a food rumble. Sorry about that, everybody.
Wouldn't be a rumble without one.
No, it wouldn't. So. Oh, back to sports for this next one. Bo Jackson versus Deion Sanders. That's a pretty broad category.
Yes.
Yeah. Chad, what do you think?
I'll start this one off. So if you start dissecting their careers, it's obviously a bit unfair to categorize and compare Bo Jackson with his unfortunate hip injury. Deion had a longer career, but he's just lucky that he didn't suffer an injury that derailed his career. I think better athlete, Bo Jackson, hands down. No denying his on the way to be a Hall of Fame baseball career. But for me, I'm going to go Deion, and I'm coming at it from certainly the marketing campaign. The Bo nose was big, but Deion knew how to sell himself, prime time, neon Deion.
Right.
I was just in my sweet spot in the teenage years when he went from the Falcons to the 49ers, and the 49ers, especially the post Montana Niners, you had Steve Young and Jerry Rice won the championship that year. And then he goes over to America's team and has a great career. I think he wins one with them as well. And then, of course, even now, if you look at his career, he's still relevant, with Colorado and, with him trying to push his sons, whether you like it or don't. He knows how to market himself. He's brought prominence back to Colorado. So I'm going Deion from that aspect.
All right. I'm going to go, like you said, Chad, Deion, of course, did have the longer career and things like that. But I'm going to just go on the athlete side of it, and I'm going to pick Bo. I saw this guy one time at a Milwaukee Brewers game in the outfield doing, just warming up. And man, this guy's, at the time I was probably, 12, 13 years old. And man, this guy's legs were freaking bigger than me and my whole body. So yeah, I've always, I mean, Dion, I could take him or leave him, but I always liked Bo Jackson as an athlete. So I'm going to go with Bo.
All right, Mick, will break the tie for us.
Bo had a cartoon,
Ah,
but
yes.
I'm picking Dion, and a lot of what Chad said, the marketing, but more for the flamboyancy that Dion had he played with. Chad brought up the 49ers. So I've always been a 49er fan. That
Yeah.
year that Dion come over in 94 and we won the title, leading into that season, our defense and especially the secondary was pretty weak. Dion came in and shored that up, gave our defense another dimension, took Merton Hanks under his wings, and they dominated that season. Even though he went to the Cowboys, forever grateful for what he done that year. But the flamboyancy, and this has even been a 49er fan. When I was young in the early 90s, I went to a Falcons game in Atlanta. San Francisco come to town to play. Dion played cornerback, punt return. I think Jerry Glanville was still the coach of the Falcons. Dion went for something and missed a tackle, missed a hit, missed something, allowed the 49er receiver to score. You could see Jerry Glanville chewing him out on the sidelines. The next series, when Atlanta's defense was on the field, Dion came out of nowhere, intercepted the ball on the 49er sideline, reversed field, went all the way over to the Falcon sideline, returning it, and pointed at Jerry Glanville as he ran by for that pick six. So the flamboyancy and the showmanship of Deion Sanders, even being a 49er fan, watching that, you couldn't hate it, right? Especially being a wrestling fan growing up, that's the sort of attitude and stuff you were used to. That was just great to see in person.
Was he high stepping to the end zone when he was pointing?
Absolutely. Well, he wasn't high stepping when he was pointing. He still had a good 30, 40 yards to go,
Okay.
but he did
Still had
high
the
step
job to
before
do.
he got there. Yeah. But the fact that I guess he was just rubbing it in his coach's face, that like, see, I told you so, or I know what I'm doing, or something to that effect. He pointed at the coach as he ran by with the pick six.
Nice.
I could tell you, though, the sports world really got robbed to see Dion when he got injured in that playoff game, messed up that hip.
Oh, you mean Bo?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the great what ifs in sports.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. We got our first, what would you call this? Fatal four-way rumble here. Michael Myers versus Jason Voorhees versus Freddy Krueger versus Chucky.
All right, I'll start off with this one. So you got two characters that were big smack talkers. You got Freddy and Chucky who talked, and then you got the two silent killers with Michael Myers and Jason. I was never really too big of a fan with the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Chucky movies. I probably only watched the first two, and then after that, I really wasn't into the franchise. I know there was a show on out a couple years ago, I believe. And then the Jason, Friday the 13th, and the Michael Myers. Chad, you probably know who I'm going to pick. So I'm going to go with Michael Myers just because that was kind of the first horror franchise that I was introduced to. And I've always been a big fan of that one, probably over the others. So I'm going to go with Michael Myers.
Yeah, I kind of figured you would. I'm going to go with my first childhood memory of out of these four gentlemen, and I'm going Freddy. And I was young, probably before the 90s, and we must have had a free HBO on our cable box at some point because I remember unintentionally catching a Freddy Nightmare on Elm Street movie and seeing Freddy for the first time and seeing that hat and the skin and the fingers and stuff, and it was enough to make me think of it now 40 years later almost. And so I'm going to go with Freddy just because he was the first. If you're asking me, 42-year-old me now, probably I'm going with you, Ken, going Mike Myers, but I'm going to come at it from my childhood days, so I'm going Freddy.
All right.
I've never been the biggest horror movie fan, but I think I have enjoyed more the Halloween movies than any of these listed here, so I'll go with Michael Myers.
All right. I finally won one.
And now we've got a triple threat. Adam Sandler versus Mike Myers. Hey, 2 categories with Mike Myers in them.
Yeah.
So Adam Sandler versus Mike Myers versus Will Ferrell.
Now, I put this one as a coming at the perspective of their movie careers instead of just being a comedian. I came at this one with their movie careers in mind. So this one's kind of a tough one. You got Adam Sandler with, he's got all of his Netflix stuff now with, and then you think of when he first came on the scene with Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, Happy Gilmore. And then on the other side, you got Mike Myers is big with of course, the Shrek franchise and the Austin Powers franchise. And then Will Ferrell, I mean, he's got some pretty good, decent, funny movies out there. But I think overall, I'm going to go with Adam Sandler as my pick. What about you, Chad?
This was tough. I sorry, Mike. You're not going to get the nod. It's going to be between Farrell and Sandler for me. And however you cut it, you can definitely cut it in many ways. I'm going to go Sandler because of the quantity, maybe not quality, but the quantity of movies that he's, and not, you said he's in, now he's got what is it, Happy Madison, his production company. I got a few stats for us to kind of,
Okay.
play with. Surprisingly, who's made the more box office career earnings? Actually, Farrell wins that, from what I've read. Will Ferrell is the highest grossing comedian in terms of movies. He's first. Now, Sandler is third. I want to take a guess who number 2 is.
And this is not just who's listed here, but all comedians?
Yeah, all comedians. There's somebody wedged in between them two.
I don't know. I'll let Mickey take a stab at it.
Oh, I would have to sit here and think way too long to see who that would be.
I'll give you a hint. They come from the same alum as Farrell and Sandler. Earlier than them, though.
Bill Murray?
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's the number 2 highest grossing comedian, from what I've read. And, you can sit there and look at different websites. You might see a little different. I was surprised to see that Will Ferrell has actually had the most highest grossing film, which to me doesn't even count. It was for Barbie for a few years ago. I feel like Ryan Gosling had more of a role in that than Ferrell, but Sandler's highest grossing film was actually Hotel Transylvania 3.
I forgot all about those.
Yeah, and then Mike Myers, his highest grossing film was Goldmember, Austin Powers. But I'm going to go Sandler just because of the longevity, which, him and Ferrell kind of started around the same time, I think. So that kind of is a push a little bit. But just the quantity of films that it seems like Sandler has. I've seen more Sandler films, I think, than I have Ferrell. But if you're asking me my favorite film of the two of those gentlemen, I'm probably going to go with the Anchorman series, which is 100% Will Ferrell for those. So, but I'm going to go Sandler with the, just, if I had to pick.
Well, I want to say right off the top, of all the movies any of these guys have made, the Austin Powers movies are by far my favorite from anything any of them's made. But I look at the question, if I'm stuck on a desert island and can only have the movies of one of these people to watch to keep me entertained the rest of the years, I'm picking Sandler, like Chad, for the volume of work. And also because of the Happy Madison Productions, his modern movies, I've really enjoyed them all. The basketball movie where he goes and finds that guy has been good. Uncut Gems is fantastic movie.
Yeah.
So I'd go with Sandler.
All right.
Well, I'm calling an audible here. I'm adding yet another rumble.
Okay.
So let's run this back. Adam Sandler versus Mike Myers versus Will Ferrell, but only in the context of your favorite one on Saturday Night Live.
Go ahead, Chad.
I'll go with this one. The context of SNL, only Ferrell. like his skits, man, the way he had some characters breaking on those skits. Just remember him and Robert Goulet, him as the dad telling somebody to get off the shed. Oh my God, Farrell for me. To me, Farrell's underrated on SNL, and that's from all the greats that have been on SNL, I don't think Farrell gets some of the love that he deserves. So I'm going Farrell with SNL.
All right. For me, I'm going to go with Mike Myers just because for me, Wayne's World is my number one SNL skit of all time, just as a personal opinion. So I'm going to go Mike Myers for myself.
Both really good picks. I got to lean towards Will Ferrell, though. And I think there again, it's more a volume of good stuff that he put out through the years on SNL.
Yeah.
All right, next up in the Rumble machine. Ooh, Showbiz Pizza versus Chuck E. Cheese's.
All right. I'll take this one because another one that's pretty short and sweet for me. I never stepped foot into a Chuck E. Cheese until a few of my kids were, say, old enough to go to one. So I really didn't have a reference of Chuck E. Cheese as a kid myself. We did have a Showbiz Pizza kind of in South Milwaukee, and I got invited to a couple birthday parties for Showbiz. So I'm going to go to pick Showbiz Pizza just because of at the time for myself, you're talking 82, 83 when you just had all the different arcade games in there. And as soon as you walked into a place, you didn't know where to turn or go to first. So I'm going to go with Showbiz Pizza.
I'm going to go the opposite, but for the same reason. I'm going to go Chuck E. Cheese because I don't remember having a Showbiz in our area. Now, we may have, and my mom and dad just never ventured on that side of town. And then by the time I knew it, they probably closed. I do remember getting invited to a cousin's party, and we had a one called Track Stars or Trek Stars or something like that. And it was like an animatronic lion that brought your pizza on a tricycle. And I remember I've got pictures of us at that birthday party. I don't know if that was certainly probably was a regional thing, but I don't know if it was a chain of similar restaurants. But I'm going to go Chuck E. Cheese just because it was, I do remember that being in our area, and it still is today. Unfortunately, I would love to take my 3-year-old daughter. Fortunately, you also hear about related gang activity every few weekends happening at our Chuck E. Cheese. So I don't know if my daughter will have the opportunity to go in a safe manner, but I'm going Chuck E. Cheese for me.
All right.
Shoot. So growing up, we just talked earlier about me being a Pizza Hut guy. Pizza Hut was separate from all other pizza places. So let me say that up front. But Showbiz from our town was an hour and 10 minutes away. So it was like this mythical place. You heard about it as a kid. A few of the better to do kids in school would go and they'd be talking about it, and everybody wanted to go. Showbiz, Showbiz, Showbiz. Never had a Chuck E. Cheese. So the nostalgist in me growing up would say Showbiz is the winner here. But the real winner is a little harder to determine because I just wrote this article about Showbiz at the Retro Network recently. Showbiz actually bought out and took over Chuck E. Cheese. So in one sense, you could say, well, Showbiz is the winner. But then they found that the Chuck E. Cheese, the whole presentation of Chuck E. Cheese proved more popular than their own presentation of Showbiz. So they rebranded all their Showbizes into Chuck E. Cheeses. So who's to say who really won that battle, right?
Right.
But for me personally, I go Showbiz.
Mick, you brought up in your resume the night that Nitro, the last airing of Nitro, and what you just said about I didn't know about Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese, but I think Vince would have been better off keeping WCW branding and operating it, even though it was his own, and operating it like it was a competitor. I think we all would have been better off. It just made me think of that last Nitro, and then of course, he just basically erased WCW from the history books, essentially.
Yeah, it's still a sore subject. All we got another food question here, but this is you guys. I had nothing to do with this one. Coke versus Pepsi.
All right, Chad.
This is the one that like we've talked about, whatever perspective you want to come at it from. It's easy to come at it from like what you prefer, right?
Right.
But I was trying to think about from advertising perspective. Both have had very memorable advertising campaigns. I mean, I can name at least 5 from each company right off the top of my head. Both have been relevant for a long time. Although I just recently discovered on another podcast that Coke has more of the market share, but number 2 now is actually Dr. Pepper. It has more market share than Pepsi, which I think is surprising, but I'm going to come at it from the advertising perspective, though, and I'm going to be a little sentimental when it comes to the holidays, and I think Coke has done a better job with the polar bears and, the memorable commercials around the holidays and stuff. So I'm going to go Coke.
All right. We were a Coke family as when I was a kid growing up. But then, as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm kind of more of a Pepsi guy. I find myself when I go to the movies or, things like that, I'm getting more Pepsi. And of course, Taco Bell has Pepsi. So we go to Taco Bell, not a lot, but, once in a while, I'm always grabbing a Pepsi. And then, of course, when I was a kid, the Michael Jackson commercial for Pepsi I was like, oh man, I should start drinking Pepsi a little bit more. And I become more of a Pepsi guy as I've gotten older. So I'm going to go Pepsi.
All right, Mick's going to be the tiebreaker here.
Yep.
Always preferred to drink Pepsi. That's not taking anything away from the fact that Coke helped build Atlanta and helped build the South and one of the country's oldest brand. But even they prefer Pepsi. When they launched New Coke, the formula was derived from Pepsi. Diet Coke was formulated and is still made to taste like Pepsi, not like a diet version of Coke. So even they pick Pepsi. So if you like the Retroist podcast on that, there's another one you may not be aware of. There's a podcast called Damn Interesting. It's also a great website, Damn Interesting. Look for the episode titled The Great Gestation Crisis of the 80s. They go very in depth and they allude to the fact that a lot of people have thought that, I guess you'd call it almost a conspiracy theory, but New Coke was designed to fail by Coke to make people want original Coke more, and that it was all a ploy. So it's a great, great listen and a great read for people out there.
Yeah.
I'll listen to that, but first I got to watch September 11, 2000 Nitro.
Yes, you do. But let me tell you something, though. The rest of that show, you might as well just fast forward looking for me because there's not much redeeming about that show. And then the final one here is one that I threw in, and I figure this might be one of the more heated debates. Big Ten versus SEC.
Oh, God. Well, I think I'm going to get my ass kicked in this pick because you guys are both down in the South and I'm up north here. Just as, a homer, I'm going Big Ten. So I don't really have too much of an argument for it. But, I'm Wisconsin, we suck this year. But, yeah, I'm going Big Ten just because I'm from up here. And that's what I was raised to watch and love. So I'm going Big Ten.
Yeah,
have at it, guys.
Mick knew what he was doing with this one. Yeah, remember a few weeks ago in the lounge, somebody put the best rivalries, and I think me and Mick were the only ones to vote Alabama-Auburn, which, of course, take that rivalry and take many others in the SEC. Now, I'm a Gamecock fan, have been for quite some time, and, we're struggling to get off the bottom feeders here of the SEC. We used to hang around there with Vanderbilt quite often, but this year, boy, Vanderbilt's definitely did a role reversal. So I'm going to go just from the rivalry and the history, SEC for me all the way.
I love the way Ken just automatically assumed, he can't win this one. It's Big Ten versus 2 SEC guys. But like Lee Corso used to say, not so fast.
Oh,
you got to remember, I'm a Notre Dame fan. So Notre Dame rules them all. The only school that is above a conference. So I picked Notre Dame, even though it wasn't a choice.
So the
But in all
debate
serious,
rages on.
yeah, in all seriousness, though, if I had to pick one, it's going to be SEC because
Right.
I watch the Notre Dame game every week at whatever time they're on. But the rest of my Saturday is spent watching SEC.
Yeah.
You know, down here we've house divided Clemson, Carolina. What is it like there in Virginia, Mick?
Well, it depends on what part of Virginia you're in. Middle of the state, it's Virginia over Virginia Tech. But right in my local area, we sit exactly between Virginia Tech and Tennessee. They're each an hour and a half in opposite directions from right here where I'm at. So, like at work, at the stores, it's an even number of Virginia Tech and Tennessee shirt that you see when you're out, and it's quite a fun rivalry. And a few years ago, they played at Bristol Motor Speedway. Uh, the reason they done that, one was to set the college football attendance record, but two was because Bristol is just 20 minutes away from being exactly halfway between the two of them. Great rivalry in this area. They've not played a lot through the years. Through the 90s, they would meet in bowl games like the Peach Bowl and such. But I know people around here wish they would end up playing in regular season games, non-conference games more often than they do. In the actual town I'm in, I say it leans just a little towards Virginia Tech over Tennessee, though.
Chad, up here, the Big Ten isn't the Big Ten I grew up with, because now you got teams coming over from like the Pac-12. Like Oregon is now in the Big Ten, and we had like Rutgers join a few years back, and so it's kind of going that way too, where it's, you still got your rivalries like Wisconsin, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, things like that. But yeah, you got some of these other teams invading, and it's not even really the Big Ten anymore.
It all changed. We grew up watching football. It was conferences were aligned geographically. Now it's all about television market.
Yeah.
That's why Rutgers is in the Big Ten. Rutgers is there between New York City and Long Island. It's big TV market. USC, Oregon, Washington.
Yeah.
It's all TV market deals now. That's why Oklahoma and Texas A&M and Missouri, they're outside of St. Louis, are all in the SEC.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely all about those TV bucks for sure.
Yeah, I would like to see it go back, but once you let the money genie out of the bottle, there is no putting it back.
Yeah, for sure.
Toothpaste is already out of the tube.
Well, is that it for the Rumbles?
That was all of the Rumble.
All right.
Well, Mickey has counted to 3, and we are finished with our first annual Retro Rumble Super Show. Mick, can't thank you enough, man, for assisting me and Ken with these Rumbles. And like I said, in our eyes, you and Jason are the originators. Honestly,
they're the goats, man.
They're the goats of the Rumble show. And,
yeah.
But we thank you, man, for taking a little time out of your schedule to assist us. And who knows, man, we'll have you back for maybe round 2.
Oh, for sure.
Great. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a minute since I got to record with anyone, and been a blast.
Mickey, for me, when I first started listening to the Retro Network, it was, what kept me coming back was just you and Jason had that chemistry. And my whole goal was to always, at one point or another, finally get to do a podcast. And, fortunately for me, Chad agreed to do this, but we kind of do this show in you and Jason's honor, and we just want to keep the retro goodness going here. And that's why we kind of use some of your ideas that you guys did and try to go forward with them. And yeah, it was an honor to have you on the show here for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ken. And anything we had, you can consider yours and use anything.
Very much appreciated.
Right. Well,
the ABC show as well. That's another one, Ken, that we've done.
Yes.
Taken from the guys at the Time Machine. So again, Mick, thank you for what you do for us over at TRN, and look forward to hanging with you for many more years to come, man.
Great. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Mick.
Thanks, Mickey. Well, Chad, that is going to wrap it up for our Retro Resurgence Rumble Super Show with Mickey. What better way to kick off the new year than have a guest that we've looked up to and that we've listened to over the last 6 or 7 years. And it was finally good to have him on the show here. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, man. It was good to get him back on the mic.
Yeah.
He admittedly said he had only done this once or twice since the passing of Jason. So, yeah, I'm sure these podcasts bring a lot of nostalgia naturally when we talk about the topics. But for him, it's a little bittersweet, I'm sure. But we thank him
Yeah.
for jumping on the horn with us and chatting. And I think he did a fair job of refereeing the Rumbles.
Oh yeah, he didn't, hit us in the back of the head with the steel chair or anything and, count one of us out or yeah, he did a great job with the randomizer and being the moderator and yeah, we thank him for coming on.
He didn't rip off his shirt and stun us like Mike Tyson did.
Yeah.
Well, man, it was a fun episode. And, listeners, you're listening to this. We're in 2026. Ken and I both have most of the year plotted and planned out, don't we?
Yeah, I believe we have our topic set all the way through for Halloween. So yeah, we got about 10 months that we're already got in the, in the tank and that we know what we're going to do. So yeah, it's going to be a fun year.
Yep, and listeners, the best way to keep abreast on what's going on is to tune in to our Instagram at Retro Resurgence. You'll see Ken's reels, you'll see my episode teaser graphics, and a whole lot more. We share lots of stuff over there. So be sure to check us out over on Instagram and, of course, our website, www.theretroresurgence.com.
Yeah, check us out there. Also, you can find us at theretronetwork.com as well. And there's lots of good content over there. And yeah, Chad, we're excited to get the new year going. And we wish everybody else a happy new year. And I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Resurgence podcast. You can find us on most major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find and engage with us on social media at the following: on Instagram at The Retro Resurgence, on X at Retro Resurgence. You can also reach out to us on our email, which is theretroresurgence@gmail.com. And you can also find us at our website, www.theretroresurgence.com. And lastly, you can also find us online at our flagship, The Retro Network, at www.theretronetwork.com, where you'll find lots of great retro and nostalgic content. Leave us a rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Join us again in 2 weeks here on the Retro Resurgence podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Retro Resurgence podcast. We're so grateful you joined us today and took a trip down memory lane with us. And we can't wait to bring you more retro goodness in our next episode. Until then, keep embracing the past, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.
This has been a presentation of the Retro Network.